Hello students, welcome to the class. So in the previous class, we have discussed everything regarding pure substances, that is chemical classification of matter is based on two types. We have pure substances and mixtures. Under pure substances, they are further classified into two types, that is elements and compounds, right? And we know what are elements now. Elements are pure substances which are made up of only one kind of atoms, yes? And in this, we can also say that these elements, they cannot be split into two or more simpler substances, right? They cannot be split into two or more simpler substances. So totally we have 118 elements, out of which 92 are naturally occurring and 26 are artificially prepared. In some books they give this ratio. In some other books they may give 94 are naturally occurring and 24 are artificially prepared. So this is it varies. In some books they have mentioned 92 and 26. In some books they have mentioned 94 and 24. If it is mentioned in NCERT as 94 and 24, you have to follow this. Or if it is mentioned this, you are going to follow this. Okay. Now, apart from that, what we are going to discuss next is about compounds. So compounds are what? They are also pure substances, but they are made up of two or more different elements combined chemically in a definite ratio. Correct? So let us see what are compounds now. So let me write here compounds. So what are compounds? Compounds are pure substances made up of two or more different elements, different atoms, you can say, of elements in fixed ratio, fixed proportion, in fixed proportion. Yes, they are called compounds. Yes, what they are called? They are called as compounds. So they are pure substances which are made up of two or more elements that, and they are combined how? That are combined, or you can say that are chemically combined. They are not physically mixed. They are chemically combined. Please do remember this term. Okay. Please do remember this term. Which term I'm speaking about? They are chemically combined. Please do remember this. Okay. So they are chemically bound together in a fixed proportion. Ratio is fixed. We had seen the example last time, just when I was talking about differences between pure substance and mixtures. H2O is the formula for water. Yes. What is the ratio here? By atoms, two atoms of hydrogen combined with one atom of oxygen. I can say like that. Or by mass, hydrogen mass is 1 into 2 atoms. Therefore, 2 is to oxygen mass is 16. So simplest whole number ratio comes out to 1 is to 8. So this is what? This is by mass ratio. This is by atoms ratio. If you are talking by atoms, look how many atoms of each element are there and put them in the ratio. If you are talking by mass, look, get them into the mass. Yes. So when two or more elements chemically combine in a fixed ratio by mass, the obtained product is known as what? It is known as compounds. It is known as compounds. So compounds, you can define them as substances containing two or more different types of elements in fixed ratio of its atoms. So when elements combine, some individual property of the elements is lost and newly formed compounds has new properties. Now see, example here what I took. Hydrogen combines with oxygen to form water, correct? So water is what? Water is my compound, correct? Water is my compound. And these two are what? These two are molecules or elements, you can say. I can write this reaction like this also. H2 combines with O2 to form H2O. Okay. So this is a compound. Okay. Now see, if you look at the property of hydrogen and property of oxygen, these are what? Combining atoms, right? Two atoms of hydrogen combined with the two atoms, only one atom is involved here. So it will form water. Okay. If I want to balance this reaction, I can balance it and write 2 here and 2 here. So there are 4 atoms of hydrogen, 4 atoms of hydrogen, 2 atoms of oxygen, 2 atoms of oxygen. Okay. So if you observe, 4 atoms of hydrogen combined with 2 atoms of oxygen to give me 2 molecules of water, and it is a compound. Yes. So if you look at the properties of these combining atoms, oxygen is what? Hydrogen is highly combustible, correct? So what is hydrogen? It is highly combustible, inflammable it is. It catches fire immediately, correct? And oxygen is what? It is a supporter of combustion. Yes, where oxygen is there, if fire is there and if oxygen supply is there, it supports, right, burning process, and that is called combustion. What about water? Is it inflammable? Will it blast out? No. Is it supporter of combustion? If there is fire, if you put water, what will happen? The fire will go off. Understanding? So I will call fire water as what? I can call water as fire extinguisher. Yes, I can call water as fire extinguisher. So it puts off the fire. So what I want to say here is, look at the properties of the combining elements and look at the properties of the new element, new compound formed. The properties are entirely different. Yes. So when elements combine, the properties of the elements, they are lost. The individual properties of the elements are lost, and newly formed compound has what? Newly formed compounds will have new properties. It will have new properties. Please do remember. That's the reason we say a new substance is formed. A new substance is formed. And how to write the chemical formula? Formula of water is H2O. So compounds are represented how? I will write here. Compounds are represented by chemical formula, like how elements are represented by symbols. No, compounds are represented by chemical formula. Yes, for example, if you say what is a chemical formula, then a chemical formula, yes, let me write here. So what do you mean by chemical formula? It is symbolic representation. Yes, it is symbolic representation of proportions of atoms, of proportions of atoms. Symbolic representation of proportions of atoms that constitute a particular compound. Yes, for example, proportion of atoms in water. There are 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. Correct? How do I write it? 2 atoms, 2 I will write it as subscript, and 1 atom I need not write 1. It is understood it is 1. So this is what? This is chemical formula. And all the compounds are represented how? All the compounds are represented by a chemical formula. All the compounds, you take any compound, it is always represented by a chemical formula. Is that right? You can take one more example. For example, sodium chloride. Yes, sodium chloride. It is commonly known as common salt. It is commonly called what? Common salt. Okay, and it is represented by the formula sodium chloride contains 1 atom of sodium. What is the symbol for sodium? Na, and 1 atom of chlorine. So it is NaCl. It is NaCl. Understood? So here we have so many examples. One more example I can write. Example, hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide. Yes, hydrogen peroxide, antiseptic we use it. When we have wounds and cuts, no, we put hydrogen peroxide so that whatever waste is there, it comes out. It has 2 atoms of hydrogen and 2 atoms of oxygen. So formula is what? H2O2. H2O2. Some of the most commonly used compounds which you will be coming across are, one is ammonia. Ammonia is nothing but 1 atom of nitrogen and 3 atoms of hydrogen. Then we have methane. It is 1 atom of carbon, 4 atoms of hydrogen. Then we have sulfuric acid. You might have come across these terms, sulfuric acid. Yes, we have 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of sulfur, 4 atoms of oxygen. Yes, then we have acetic acid. Here we have carbon, hydrogens, then again COOH. Therefore, I can write it as 2 atoms of carbon, 4 atoms of hydrogen, and 2 atoms of oxygen. Okay. Then we have alcohol, most commonly used. At least these you should be knowing. Yes, we write it as CH3OH. This is one type of alcohol. Then we have CH3CH2OH, which is also written as C2H5OH. Okay, so how will you write here? One atom of carbon, 4 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen. And to this, how I write? 2 atoms of carbon, 6 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen. Correct? So these are what? These are some of the commonly used compounds, and I have written the chemical formulae of all those compounds. Yes, chemical formula I have written. Is that clear? So compounds are basically divided into two types. So these compounds, they are basically divided into two types. Yes. So here we have two types, depending upon from where they are obtained. Okay, so if I speak about where they are obtained, one is organic compounds, and another one is inorganic compounds, or you can call them molecular compounds and ionic compounds. Okay, so organic compounds means what? The compounds which were obtained from plants and animals, living organisms, those were called as organic compounds. And the compounds which are obtained from minerals, non-living organisms, minerals, you can say rocks. Yes, these are inorganic compounds. That is basic definition, but actual definition, if you try to see, it is different, and you will study about it in higher classes. So this is about what? This is about compounds. So compounds, they are being divided into two types. Yes, one is organic compounds and inorganic compounds. So organic compounds means what? Organic compounds means they are obtained from plants and animals. Inorganic compounds means minerals, rocks, and all whatever we get, we call them as inorganic compounds. We call them as inorganic compounds. So now when we speak about the differences, let me write here. Between elements and compounds. Yes, differences between elements and compounds. So differences between elements and compounds is one of the most common question in several chemistry exams. Remember this. So students are required to be thorough with these differences. So I can quote them like this. So we will put a tabular column and try to make it understandable for us. Correct? Okay. We'll take it here. Okay. I will write here elements, and here we'll take compounds. Okay, so what are elements and compounds? Okay, so when we speak about, let us talk about the property. I'll say one by one and then we'll go to the differences. Okay, fine. First one, elements. What is the definition? Elements are pure substances made up of only one kind of atoms. One kind of atoms. Right? They are made up of only one kind of atoms. Whereas compounds, they are also pure substances made up of two or more, made up of two or more different atoms in fixed composition, fixed proportion, or you can say fixed ratio. Okay, this is the first difference. What is the second difference? Talking about total number. There are nearly, we know this, nearly 118 elements. Yes, at present 94 are naturally occurring, and 24 are artificially prepared at present. Artificial. Correct? And what about compounds? They are endless. Almost endless means what? Many. Yes, infinite number, large number of compounds we have. We have large number of compounds. We have large number of compounds. This is second difference. Third difference is how many types of elements are there? They are classified as metals, non-metals, and metalloids. Correct? Metalloids. And here, how are they classified? They are classified according to their bonds, which might be ionic, which might be molecular, which might be metallic. So I can say classified based on bonds as ionic, molecular or metallic, and from obtained, that is divided as organic and inorganic. Correct? Organic and inorganic. Is that right? Coming to the next difference. The next difference is, you can quote some of the examples. Iron, what is symbol? Fe. Gold, Au. Silver, Ag. Sodium, Na. Sulfur, S. Carbon, C. Silicon, Si. Yes, and here examples: water, H2O. Salt, NaCl, sodium chloride we call. Washing soda, caustic soda, NaOH. Yes, then ammonia, NH3. These are all examples for compounds. These are examples. How do you represent elements? Elements are represented by symbols. Yes, so it is sodium is represented as Na, like that, and compounds are represented by chemical formulae. Correct? Chemical formula. They are represented by chemical formula. How do you distinguish elements? Elements are differentiated or distinguished, differentiated based on atomic number. Atomic number. Depending upon the atomic number, you can differentiate. And how are these compounds distinguished? They are differentiated by their ratio, fixed ratio. Fixed ratio. For example, what is the ratio of water? It is H2O, 2:1 by atoms. What is the ratio of hydrogen peroxide? It is 2:2. 2 atoms of hydrogen, 2 atoms of oxygen. So based on the ratio, you can distinguish elements, you can distinguish the compounds. How can you distinguish the elements? You can distinguish the elements based on the atomic number. And how do you separate elements? Yes, how do we separate elements? Elements are, can you separate them by heating and all? No, elements are not separatable. The elements cannot be broken by chemical reactions. Compounds can be easily separated into simple substances by chemical reactions. You can separate compounds by chemical methods. Chemical methods. You cannot take physical method, okay? You cannot say I will heat water and separate hydrogen and oxygen. No, you cannot separate like that. If you want to separate compounds, you have to go for what? You have to go for chemical methods. You have to go for chemical methods. Is that right? So this is about the differences between elements and compounds. That comes under pure substances. Is that right? Okay. Moving to the next one. That is, what are mixtures? What are mixtures? So far we have studied chemical classification. Matter is divided into two types, that is elements and compounds. Sorry, pure substances and mixtures. We have seen what are pure substances, what are their types. So pure substances are basically classified into two types, that is elements and compounds. Elements are further classified into three types, that is metals, non-metals and metalloids, whereas compounds are basically classified into two types, that is organic and inorganic, or it is based on the bonds ionic, molecular and what? metallic. Now coming to the next part of the matter, we have mixtures. So what do we mean by mixtures? Yes, I'll just write the definition here. Mixtures are two or more pure substances. See, two or more pure substances mixed physically. Mixed physically, such that physically they are mixed, okay, such that each substance retains its own chemical identity. Each substance retains its own chemical identity. If I want to speak without speaking in the form of science, if I want to give you an example, see, I can give you example like when you get food grains from market, okay, wheat or jawar from market, what happens? The food grains will be associated with stones, right? So when I say the food grains are associated with stones, when we say that the food grains are associated, okay, with stones, when they are associated with stones, what we do, we separate the stones by picking. Okay, before that, when these food grains are mixed with the stones, so can I say food grains are mixed with the stones, correct? They're mixed with stones. So will the food grains and stones combine and form something new? No, they are just mixed physically. They are just mixed physically. So just by hand picking, you can separate it out. Yes or no? You can separate it out. Take one more example. If you want to speak in form of science, if I take a glass of water, so let me say I have glass of water. To this glass of water, I will add sugar. I will add sugar or I will add salt. Okay. So it becomes, if I add sugar, it becomes a sugar solution. Or if I add salt, it becomes a salt solution. Correct. Now see, can I say that sugar has it has mixed with water and formed sugar solution, right? Or salt has mixed with water and formed salt solution. Can I say it as combined? No. Has it formed anything new? No. This still tastes sweet because of sugar present in water. This will taste salty because of salt present in water. So it has not formed a new substance. Getting my point? It has not formed a new substance there. It has not combined chemically. It has not combined chemically. Getting? Understanding? It is just mixed. It is just mixed, or you can use the term combined physically. Physically. Getting? Understanding? Yes? So it is just mixed physically. These are called what? Sugar solution, salt solution, food grains mixed with stones. These are called mixtures. Take one more example. The best example what I can quote is air. How do we define this air? We define air as mixture of gases. Yes or no? Mixture of gases. Tell me, so many gases will be present in air. Yes, nitrogen is present, oxygen is present, water is present in air. Then we have carbon dioxide in air. Then we have carbon monoxide in air. Will all these gases mix and form something new? No, not at all. So what is a mixture? It is two or more pure substances. Yes or no? This is pure substance. This is pure substance. This is pure substance. This is pure substance. This is also pure substance. So it is two or more pure substances mixed how? Mixed physically, such that each substance, see, each substance, yes, each substance what? Each substance what? Each substance retains its own chemical identity. It will retain its own chemical identity. So chemical identity of each substance remains same. Unlike in compounds, what happens in compounds? When two or more substances combine, they form a new substance. Why do I call it new substance? Because the entire properties change. This substance, this compound will have new properties. It will have entirely new properties. The substances will not, they will not, what you say, they will, the compound will not retain the properties of the combining constituent particles, we say. So here in forming water, what are the constituent particles? Hydrogen and oxygen. So water will not have properties of hydrogen and oxygen, or water will have entirely new properties. What are the constituents of air? The constituents of air are N2, O2, H2O, CO2, CO. These are all, many gases are there. These are the constituent particles of air, and all of them will retain their own properties. When we breathe in, we take in oxygen for breathing and give out carbon dioxide. When plants breathe in, they take in carbon dioxide, give out oxygen. Is it that nitrogen and oxygen reacted in air and formed something else? No, not at all. Getting my point? Understanding? And if that reaction also has to happen, no, it will happen at different conditions. So these gases, they are present as physically. Understanding? Therefore, we call them as mixtures. We call them as mixtures. Getting? So mixtures are two or more pure substances which are mixed physically such that each substance retains its own chemical identity. Nitrogen will have its own behavior. Oxygen will have its own behavior. Water will have its own behavior. Carbon dioxide will have its own behavior. Yes. Then so carbon monoxide will have its own behavior. Understanding? Getting? So the constituent particles will have their own properties. They will not mix and form some new properties. Yes. So this is about mixtures. So when we hear the term mixtures, we need to understand what we need to understand here. We need to understand what are the differences then. What is the difference between a compound and what is difference between a mixture? So let us try to understand this. Let me write here. So differences between compounds. So we have studied both now. And mixtures. Yes or no? Differences between compounds and mixtures. So I'll mention here compound and here mixture. Yes? Okay. So let us speak about the differences one by one. So when we speak about differences between compounds and mixtures, we will take it in the form of a tabular column. So compounds are what? First definition. They are pure substances. Yes, pure substances. Please, you don't use the term PS, okay? I'm just writing here. You have to say pure substances only. Pure substances which are formed, which can be formed by chemical combination. Yes, formed by chemical combination of two or more elements in fixed proportion. Two or more elements in fixed proportion. How do I define mixtures? Mixtures are two or more pure substances. Pure substances that are formed or that are mixed physically. That are mixed physically in any proportion. Yes or no? In any proportion. You cannot say this proportion only. It might be in any proportion. Yes, you can keep the proportion proper or you can vary the proportion. That doesn't matter. We'll see. Based on that also, we have types of mixtures. Compounds, they are classified into three types. We have seen ionic, then we have molecular, then we have metallic. And mixtures are being classified into two types: homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. After discussing the differences, we'll discuss about the types of mixtures. Okay, two types. Next important point is here they are the compounds will possess, or let me say will have, a simple term, entirely new properties as compared to as compared to the combining constituents, the combining constituent particles. So the compared to the combining constituent particles, the compounds will have entirely new properties. Mixtures, I'll write here all the constituent particles, correct? All the constituent particles retain their own chemical properties. Retain their own chemical properties. So none of the properties get changed of the particles, whereas in compounds they will form entirely new properties. Yes. So compounds fall under pure substances, whereas mixtures you can classify under impure. Okay. Now the chemical composition of the compounds is always fixed. Yes, whereas mixtures, they have variable composition of the substances. Compounds are always homogeneous and mixtures we have seen homogeneous or heterogeneous. The constituents of the compounds can be separated. Compounds can be separated. Can be separated by either chemical or electrochemical methods. Electrochemical methods. So you can separate them by chemical or electrochemical methods. Mixtures can be separated by physical methods. Yes, and what are those physical methods? You can go for filtration, you can go for evaporation, all these methods you can go for it. Yes, so mixtures can be separated by physical methods. You can use filtration, you can use evaporation. Sometimes if the mixtures are very clearly visible, you can use hand picking. Yes or no? So these are the methods to separate mixtures. The properties of the compounds are what? They are unique. Yes, and need not necessarily reflect the properties of the constituent particles. Whereas constituent particles in the mixtures, they retain their own properties. A new substance is formed after the constituent particles are chemically combined. So we say compounds have different properties from their constituent particles, whereas no new substance is formed when mixtures mix physically. Yes. Then if you talk about the bonding, the melting points and the boiling points of compounds are always defined. Yes, melting points and boiling points of compounds are always defined. They are always defined. They are always fixed. They do not change. Whereas melting points and boiling points of mixtures, they are not defined. You cannot say, yes, they are not defined, So if, for example, if I mix two liquids and keep it for boiling, I cannot expect it to boil at the same temperature. One liquid whose boil depends upon the boiling points of the liquid. The liquid which is having lower boiling point will boil first, and the liquid which has higher boiling point will boil later. Understanding my point? Understanding. So the differences, these are the differences between compounds and mixtures. So compounds are, I can say, they are chemically combined. Mixtures are not chemically combined. They are physically mixed. Components of the compounds cannot be separated by physical methods. They need chemical methods and electrochemical methods. Whereas components of the mixtures, they are separated by physical methods. Compounds exhibit their own characteristics. They show their own properties. Whereas mixtures, they have the properties of their constituent particles. Ratios of the components of the compounds is fixed. It is fixed here. Yes. Whereas, so it is fixed proportion. Whereas ratios of the components of the mixtures, it varies. And here I said boiling point and melting points are constant for a particular compound. For a particular water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. It is fixed. And there is no constant for boiling and melting points of the mixtures. Energy is given out or in to prepare compounds. through chemical bonding. And there is no little energy transfer when mixtures are formed. So this is the differences between what? The differences between elements and compounds. Differences between the elements and compounds. Is that clear? So elements are what? They are pure substances. And mixtures are what? Mixtures, you can call them impure substances. Why? Not because they have any impurities. The reason why they are called impure substances is because their composition is not fixed, like how compounds composition is fixed. Understanding? Okay. These mixtures are further classified. I'll write here. Mixtures, they are further classified how? They are further classified into two types. Mixtures are further classified into two types. The two types of mixtures are, yes, one is homogeneous mixtures and second one is heterogeneous mixtures. Yes, homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. Depending upon the distribution of the components of the mixture, they are being classified as homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homo stands for same and genus stands for phase. Hetero stands for different and genus stands for phase. Different phase, same phase. I'll give you simple example to make you all understand. So let us say I have 2 glasses of water. Okay. So what you do here with the 2 glass of water, let me write it like this. So we have 2 glasses of water here. Okay. Fine. So in this glass of water, so I'll mention here, both are water, both contain water. To this glass of water, I will add 1 spoon of sugar. What I'll add? I'll add a spoon of sugar. Or you can add a spoon of salt and stir it properly. And to this, I will add a spoon of oil and stir it properly. Okay. So once you add a spoon of sugar and a spoon of oil, okay, stir it properly. Now this glass of water, what you have? It becomes a sugar solution. What it becomes? Sugar solution. And this becomes oil and water. Oil and water. Mixture of oil and water. This is mixture of sugar and water, correct? I can say it like that also. Divide this into 5 equal parts. Any number of equal parts. Yes. Now see, when you divide it into equal parts, will all the glasses taste the same or no? Of course, they will taste the same. Why? Because on stirring, the spoon of sugar gets uniformly distributed over the entire glass of water. Yes. So what I can say here, it gets uniformly distributed. Right? It gets uniformly distributed to the entire glass of water. What about oil? If this is water, you know that what happens with the oil? The oil will float because our density of oil is less than water, correct? So is it uniformly distributed? Not at all. It is non-uniformly distributed. It is non-uniformly distributed. Understanding? So depending upon this uniformly distributed and non-uniformly distributed, we have 2 types of mixtures. Homogeneous, same phase. So if you observe this sugar solution, entirely you can see it only in one phase. It exists in only one phase, yes or no? Here you can see 2 phases, one of oil and another one of water. So different phases are there. It is called heterogeneous mixture. Yes. So homogeneous, same phase. Same phase. Heterogeneous, different phases. Yes. Heterogeneous means a different phases. So how will I define homogeneous mixture? I'll write it here. So first one I have homogeneous mixture. Yes. So I can define it as a mixture which has a uniform composition, correct? Uniform composition throughout is called homogeneous mixture. It is called homogeneous mixture. Example, you can say sugar solution. You can say salt solution. Yes. Then filtered tea. Yes or no? Filtered tea you have. Then what else examples you can give? Alloys. When metals are combined chemically, they form alloy. Physically they form alloys. They are also homogeneous mixtures. Like for example, you use steel vessels, right? Steel vessel, it is an alloy of iron and copper. So if you see there, can we separate iron and copper separately? No, it exists in same phase. Yes or no? That is homogeneous mixture. Coming to the next example, heterogeneous mixture. So what do I mean by heterogeneous mixture? A mixture which has non-uniform composition, or you can say which contains physically distinct parts. Yes, they are called heterogeneous mixtures. They are called heterogeneous mixtures. And what are the examples? Example, oil and water. Different parts are there. Yes. Then we have sand and sugar. Yes or no? Different parts. Getting my point? So this is what? This is heterogeneous mixtures. So homogeneous mixtures, they exist in single phase. They exist in single phase. Or you can say only one phase. Heterogeneous mixtures, they exist in different phases. They are present in different phases. So they are called what? They are called heterogeneous mixtures. So we have two types of mixtures, homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures. Is that right? Homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures. So based upon this, not only mixtures are not only classified as homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures, based on the particle size. Yes, mixtures are being classified into three types. Mixtures are being classified into three types. Yes, so they are classified into three types. We'll discuss those three types also. Yes, the first one is what? Based on the phase which they are present. Here, based on the particle size. One is solutions. Another one is suspension. And third one is colloids. Yes, okay. So what if I say I have a solution here? How do I define it? And here I have suspension. How do I define it? And here I have colloid. I will take example and make you all understand all the properties of this solution, suspension and colloids. Okay. Now see, this is a solution. Example, what I can give is a sugar solution. Okay, let me write it here. And below one by one, we will write the properties. Okay. So this is what? This is sugar solution. This is sand in water. And this is milk. Okay. Yes, this is milk. Or you can take example of blood. Fine. Okay, this would be easy for you all to understand the properties. Okay, so shall we start with one by one? Okay, all three we will compare and we'll discuss the properties. Okay, now see a solution. If you look at sugar in water, dissolve sugar in water, can you see the particles of the sugar? No, but when I say I cannot see the particles of the sugar, is that means that the particles of the sugar are not present? Not at all. They are present. That's the reason sugar solution will taste me sweet. Yes or no? Why the particles are not visible? Because particles are extremely small, extremely minute. Small means what? Minute means what? Small. How much small they are, I can tell you. They are less than 10 nanometers. The particles are so small. 10 nanometers means 10 raised to minus 9 meters. Yes, so small the particles are. Less than 1 nanometer, I can say. Yes, let us take it as 1. They are less than 1 nanometer. So the particles are not visible. They are less than 1 nanometer. 10 raised to minus 9 meters. Yes. What about suspension sand in water? Can I see the particles or no? Yes, I can see the particles of sand. Yes, because the particles are large in size. Large in size. I cannot say very much large, but I can say that the particle size is more than 100 nanometers. So only the particles are visible. Small particles we can see. Or you put chalk powder in water, you can see or no? Yes, the particles size is more than 100 nanometers. What about milk? We say that we can see, but partially we cannot see. Yes, the particles are of size between the size is between 1 nanometer and 100 nanometer. So in between particles of solution and particles of suspension falls this. It is between 1 nanometer and 100 nanometers. Yes. Okay. Second point. So since the particles are extremely small, we cannot see them. We cannot see them. Now, if we cannot see them, can I separate them by normal filtration and all? Yes, I cannot separate them by filtration. I need to, if I want to separate them, they can be separated by evaporation or some chemical techniques are required. Whereas suspensions can be separated by filtration, or you can say sedimentation and decantation. We use this only, right? Usually rainy season, the water comes muddy. So what we do? We filter it out using cloth. Then still if it is muddy, what we do? We allow it to stand for some time. All the mud particles will settle down at the bottom and upper part of water is only taken for use purpose, right? Can you separate colloids? Can I say that I had kept for a milk glass of milk for 1 hour, all the milk particles have settled down? Never it happens. All the blood particles will they settle and on the top you will get separate watery substance? No, they are separated by highly defined chemical methods, and that is called centrifugation. It is called centrifugation. Yes, you can separate them. Now see, since the particles are not visible, students, okay, if I pass a light through it, through solutions, through suspensions and through colloids, the ray of light will travel through the solution and will go straight. It will not spread. It will not spread. But when you pass the light through suspensions, it disperses like this. And similarly through colloids, it will disperse like this. It will disperse. So this property is called what you know? It is called Tyndall effect. The property of spreading of light. Spreading of light. Or you can say, instead of using the term spreading, you can say scattering of light. Scattering of light. Yes, what it is called? Tyndall effect. Yes, why scattering of light occurs in suspension and colloids is, and why it does not occur in solutions is, particles are very small. Actually, light gets scattered because of the particles. And since in solutions, particles are extremely small, the light does not get scattered. Therefore, I can say solutions does not show Tyndall effect, correct? It cannot show Tyndall effect. Whereas suspensions show Tyndall effect. and even collides show Tyndall effect. Okay. One more property about solutions, suspensions, and collides. Okay. See, when particles are moving, usually when you can relate it through the window, when sun's rays fall, you can see the dust particles, right? They'll be moving in all the directions in a straight line. They'll be moving very fast. That movement of particles, or what type of movement? The rapid, very fast. Let me write it here. The rapid, zigzag, random, correct? Movement of particles. It is called as Brownian movement. What it is called as Brownian movement. Can we see the particles in case of, yes, let me come here. Can we, the previous slide, tell me, can we see the particles in case of solutions? When the particles themselves are not visible, how can you speak about Brownian movement? Not at all. Can you see the particles in suspensions and collides? Yes, we can see. Therefore, I can say that solutions, what? Yes, solutions do not show Brownian movement. Whereas suspensions show Brownian movement. And collides also show Brownian movement. Yes, so all the solutions, except solutions, the suspensions and collides, they exhibit what? They exhibit Brownian movement. And you understood what is Brownian movement and what is Tyndall effect. Okay, so Brownian movement. So coming to solutions, the particles are too small and the diameter is less than 1 nanometer. So they are not visible to the naked eyes, and these particles, they do not scatter the beam of light. That means they do not show Tyndall effect. And these particles, they never settle down. Yes, they are never settled down. So they do not show Brownian movement also. Yes, when you come to suspensions, particles are large in size. We are more than 100 nanometer. They are separated by filtration, sedimentation, decantation technique. Then they show Tyndall effect as well as Brownian movement. Collides, particles of size between 1 nanometer and 100 nanometer, separated by centrifugation. They show Tyndall effect as well as Brownian movement. Examples for solutions include what? And all solutions, binary solutions you can take, sugar solution, salt solution. Then we have best examples as alloys. So what are alloys? I can define alloys as homogeneous mixtures of two or more metals or metal and non-metal. Yes, examples I can say, for example, see, steel is an alloy. It is a mixture of iron and carbon. Another example, bronze is an alloy. It is a mixture of copper and tin. Then you have brass. Brass is also an alloy. It is a mixture of copper and zinc. Yes, there are some alloys which have a metal and mercury. Yes, if the alloy contains, yes, I will write here, this is what? This is an alloy. If the alloy contains mercury, we call them amalgams. What we call them? We call them amalgams. Yes, we call them amalgams. So this is about alloys. Then when we speak about, when we speak about solutions, we have solute and solvent. Solute and solvent. When we speak about suspensions, we can still say we have solute and solvent. Collides, when we speak about, we have two things there. One is dispersed phase and another one is dispersion medium. For example, the dust present in air is an example for colloids. So dust is what? Dust is dispersed phase, and water is, air is what? Air is dispersion medium. So solute like a component of the particles in colloids is dispersed phase, and the component in which dispersed phase is present is called dispersion medium. So based on this, based on the dispersed phase and dispersion medium, we have different types of colloids also. Yes, based on dispersed phase and dispersion medium, I can tell you we have aerosols. Yes, I will write here what is the dispersed phase, and I will write what is the dispersion medium. Okay, so we have aerosol. It is a dispersed phase is solid or sometimes liquid, and dispersion medium is gas. Then we, like for example, is clouds. Yes or no? Clouds. Then we have foam. Very important, I'm speaking about. Foam, the dispersed phase is gas and dispersion medium is solid or liquid. Example, your shaving creams. Shaving creams. Then we have sols. The dispersed phase is solid and the dispersion medium is liquid. Example, you have mud. Yes or no? Then we have gels. The dispersed phase is liquid. Dispersion medium is solid. They are called gels. Then we have emulsions. The dispersed phase is liquid and dispersion medium is also liquid. Yes, example, your milk. Here all gels, the gels what they apply to the head. So this is about what? This is about examples of the colloids, wherein the dispersed phase and dispersion medium, as the dispersed phase and dispersion medium vary, we have different types of colloids. We have different types of colloids. And what are the properties? They are you cannot call them homogeneous. Colloids are heterogeneous. Suspensions and colloids are heterogeneous, whereas solutions are homogeneous. So how introduction of the separation of the components. Mixtures are separated by physical methods. The physical methods include hand picking, sieving and all. Yes. Then we have, if you have two immiscible liquids, if you have two immiscible liquids which do not mix with one another, yes, then they are separated by separating funnel. Separated by separating funnel. In the separating funnel, we take two liquids and we then allow them to stand for some time. Depending upon the density, they separate out. At the bottom, we have something like this. At the bottom, we have tap. At the bottom, we'll be having tap. Open the tap, the lower liquid will get separated. Immediately close it. You can see the layers. Then the above liquid gets separated. For example, oil in water can be separated. Then you have, if you have two miscible liquids, we go for distillation method, wherein we take the two liquids in the round bottom flask, we boil them. The liquid which is having lower boiling point will boil first, get converted to vapors. So it vaporization occurs, then it will pass through the condenser, it will condense there, and it is collected into the beaker. Then another liquid on continuous heating, second liquid which has higher melting point will get separated again. Then if you have colloids are separated how? They are separated by centrifugation. They are separated by centrifugation. So it uses the forces for separating the two liquids. Okay. The denser component migrates away from the axis and lighter component migrates towards the axis. Then we have sublimation. We have seen sublimation is for sublimate substances like your ammonium chloride mixture and sodium chloride. Ammonium chloride is a sublimate. It will convert from solid to directly gas and you can separate it out. Then we have another technique called chromatography. Yes, it is used to separate different components in the liquid mixture. Yes, different components in the liquid mixture. Then distillation, as I said, for example, if you have distilled water and gasoline, kerosene, you can separate it out. In that also we have types. Separation of air into its components. Air is a mixture of so many gases. If you want to separate air, all the constituents, what do? We use fractional distillation. Yes, we use fractional distillation. So we collect it in the form of fractions. We collect different constituent particles, gases in the form of fractions. Then we have crystallization, salt and water. Allow crystallization, allow it heat, take salt solution, heat it continuously so that 90% of the water gets evaporated, then leave it undisturbed, salt particles will get collected as crystals. This method is called crystallization. Yes, it is called crystallization. So this is all about whatever we have discussed so far. Yes, it is all about the things what we have discussed so far. Yes, I hope you have followed everything. So here I have written it. Types of mixtures, separation methods. Two immiscible liquids, oil in water, separating funnel. Ammonium chloride and sand, sublimation. Dyes in the black ink, chromatography. Miscible liquids, distillation. Solid particles, insoluble foam. Simple example, curdling of the milk you do, right? See, the curd, you want to separate cream from it, butter from it. You just go on stirring it continuously. That is an example of centrifugation. Yes. Then solutions we have seen, homogeneous mixture of two or more substances, solute and solvent we have. Types of solutions. Aqueous solutions we have, wherein a solvent is water. Non-aqueous solutions we have, wherein solvent is other than water. Yes. Then we have a true solution, that is our solutions. We have what I said, solute particles completely dissolve. Saturated solution, wherein no more solute can be further added. If you go on adding sugar spoons to a glass of water, after some time the sugar will not dissolve because it has become saturated, unsaturated, wherein you can still more add salt, sugar to it, solute to it. Then we have dilute and concentrated solutions. Depending upon the amount of solute which is dissolved in the solvent, we have dilute and concentrated. And to measure the concentration, we have these types. So concentration of a solution, how do you calculate? How much amount of solute you have added upon amount of solution. Into 100 you do, you will get percentage concentration. Into 100 you will get percentage concentration. Mass by mass percent. Mass of, you both you will take it in mass of solute and mass of solution into 100. Mass by volume, mass of solute you will take divided by volume of solution. For example, here mass of solute, mass of solution, I can say 100 grams of solute in 1000 kg of water into 100. Here 100 grams of solute into 1 liter of water into 100. And we have seen suspensions and colloidal solutions, and these are the examples for different colloidal solutions. Dispersed phase, dispersion medium, example type, what it is called, and here we have examples. So liquid gas, aerosols, fog, cloud, mist. Solid gas, aerosols, solid aerosols they are called, smoke, automobile exhaust and all. Gas in liquid, foam it is called, shaving cream. Liquid in liquid, emulsion, milk and face cream. Solid in liquid, solution, milk of magnesia and mud. Gas in solid, foam, sponge and pumice. Liquid in solid, gels, jelly, cheese, butter and all. Solid, solid, solid soap. The only colloid which does not exist is gas in gas. Gas in gas colloid does not exist. Okay, never exists. You cannot say air. Air is not a colloid. It is a mixture of different gases. Yes. So this is all about the second topic, that is matter around us pure. So hope you have followed everything, all the concepts you have understood till now, whatever I have explained. Thank you.